Oh no.
Oh no, see, now we know we're being watched. Should have never told us. I'm gonna create some kind of like consent at the top of my thing that just says you can record me, just don't tell me. It'll be better, I promise. Anyway, here we are.
Anyway, hi, welcome, Virginia and Sydney. Can we start by having you introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and what you want us to know about you?
Sure. I'm Sydney Duncan. I am a writer, and that's about it.
Shut up. Keep going.
No, I mean
flaunt it. Peacock.
I write comic books and novels and screenplays. I have a series with Dark Horse Comics and a couple of new graphic novels that'll be coming out next year. Or I guess this year now.
I didn't know that.
2022.
What can you tell us about the series?
Kill Whitey Donovan is the series that is out now. That has been optioned for film by Hideout Pictures, who did Old Henry recently with oh god, now I can't remember his name. Guy from Buster Scruggs.
Oh yeah.
Blake Nelson, Tim Blake Nelson. Yeah. So got some scripts that are kind of grinding through the submission process right now. So we're shopping them around.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's me.
And I'm gonna kill Whitey redheaded celebrity to play that role in that series.
I love it. Please do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't have to like murder. I don't want to start with that being our major takeaway from the Constellation Incubator. Basically, you got to kill some folks.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to get where you want
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just learn, to take risks, even if illegal.
Right. Even if they're deadly.
No, but truth. Sydney and I have known each other now a couple years. I don't know what time is, but something like that. It was we go back pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And
Way
we
back.
have been here in Birmingham, Alabama, as a lifeline of support in the industry in an area that doesn't have a lot of that. So it's really cool to find each other here, and we've inspired each other and kept each other afloat and are working to work together. But as it goes, it's hard to get things kicked off. But I was glad to be able to do this with you because that feels like a start, and like how do we do it?
I know.
Anyway, I'm Virginia Newcomb.
And you
and other than
keep going.
Other than a murderess, you are.
I am the bulk of my career has been as an actor, and that transitioned into producer, and then that transitioned into writer. So I've just been finding those ways to have more hands and have more control and have more creativity in whatever way that means. And I am now at a point where I call myself a filmmaker. It took a lot of steps. But yeah, I mean, I have most of my stuff that I have out there that people know of me, it's my acting work, and then a lot of shorts that I produced, and writing is the big nut that I've been cracking over the last couple of years. And now that I have written some things, trying to get them made. And in that space. So I don't know. I mean, on a real level, like I took the last couple of years to do things like this, gratefully, being accepted into a community that's all asking a lot of the same questions, and take a lot of time and space to write in the most stumbly of imperfect ways that has been, and say yes to love and like leave the country and get married. And so I've been doing a lot of personal work creatively and emotionally. So I do feel like with all of that, and I mean, Constellation Incubator was a component of that, but with all of that, I'm entering into a new phase. And I feel like this week I'm entering into a new phase. So it's interesting that this is timed out in the way that it has. It's like finally some things have settled and now moving. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's the long of it.
Well, I want to circle back to what is happening this week, but before we get there, can you each describe your experience of Constellation Incubator?
I won't keep it. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, jump in. Or I can, I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Go, then go.
Okay. So I came from the world of, I broke into novels first, and then comics, and then, kind of still knocking on the door, I guess, in film and TV. But not writing a novel is a very sort of solitary thing. There isn't a lot of collaboration in any component of it along the way. And I've kind of been stepping genuinely into these more collaborative experiences with these creative endeavors. And I think what the Constellation Incubator kind of provided or showed or demonstrated was that there are 1,000 different narratives and 1,000 different ways to make success happen in this industry. And the collaboration is, and I think I knew this as an abstract maybe, but like having it demonstrated is sort of like the necessary components of that collaborative success are those different narratives and those different experiences and those different sort of ideas that sort of don't exist in me and don't exist in the sphere that I live in. And so there was a ton of value for me in experiencing like how other people see this process and this, this journey, I guess, to some extent, and like experiencing their creative processes and their creative things that inspire them and things that get them motivated and things that kind of push their boundaries was really interesting to see. Weird sometimes as well to sort of experience. But I love that. I mean, that's kind of the joy of it. And I think that was definitely a part of it that I not experienced. I think Virginia said in the beginning, obviously, that we are kind of all we have for each other in this city. Virginia has a much broader webcast in this industry than I do. But, one of the things that I'd been missing was that sort of, generating stuff with other people and being sort of, needing to hear their experiences and their ideas and considering them, and then like offering, parts of me to sort of push those ideas and those things forward. So I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was a trip. It was so weird sometimes, but that was the fun of it. I mean, I'm all up for a strange and crazy tour. So, but I and like the sweetest people, right? I mean, just like the really, really, really wonderful people were involved, and there was so much, joy in that, I think, which is a lot of fun. So.
I love that you like think it's weird, and I'm like, this is
These are
like
my
how I started. When you're like a theater nerd and you really find your people in these communities where you're like, we have nothing. What do you want to make?
I know.
And you're like, I mean, that was the aspect of it, I think, that kind of reinvigorated me and reminded me to always like hold on to those beginning creative instincts. And just that I have been doing this now for 20 professional years. Jesus Christ. Like I it's an industry you're allowed to get jaded in. It's an industry that's going to wear on you. And like, and you're, you know, and especially as an actor, you just show up and you got to be positive and you got to always like be the vulnerable, empathetic one. And it's like, that's going to take its toll. And like, I try not to wallow too long in that, but that's just something you bring along with it. It's just an addition to your experience. And this reminded me to hold on to those instinctual collaborative components within the frustrating limitations and, you know, blindingly obvious problems that I have now with the industry. Like, I can crack this thing with joy and community.
Yeah.
Have I yet? No. But I have. I've had a lot of sparks and I've had a lot of good conversations. And one of the most valuable things for me personally and in how to carry these conversations forward were the empathy interviews, because I got really pumped and just asking people in my sphere to talk to me about how they saw things. And I think a lot of us are just in a stage where we want to talk about it. We're used to powering through and pushing forward and trying to crack the system in place. But all of us, I think all of us are asking the same questions. Even the big major corporations, just because they have the perceived power, they're still terrified that things are going to shift not in their favor. And so that was great to just be a part of, and then extend that community outwards to all these other silos of people that I know that are like having the same kind of frustrations, and they've been building and building for a long time. And we're now at this like intersection where we have to solve things, right? Mm-hmm. Culturally and economically. Like it's so not working. And so I guess that because this is just my nature, I mean, there were days and there were kind of a come down afterwards where I was like, was this just an isolated event and it inspired me and it'll be what it'll be, but like, can I really carry it forth into how I'm working? And I think the awareness of how hard that really is just hit again. And that cycle kind of comes back around for me a lot, because I think there are some cases where I have made the system work for myself. And so it's easy for me to fool myself into thinking I can keep making it work. I mean, I have gotten so close on so many things that it keeps, dangling it at you. And then you get a success and then it dangles it a little bit longer. And so to fully commit to something different than a codependent existence with this industry it is what it is. And I of course am speaking from my gut and my heart here, so I don't know how to pull this back around, but I will say that I haven't forgotten it, and it keeps injecting. Sorry, you're gonna hear my dog grumbling over here. He's like, yeah, she's going at it again. Mom. Romantic. But all of the dude, seriously. All of the conversations and all of those inspirations are still injecting the questions that I keep asking. And I'll keep, oh, well, in this incubator I did, this came up. And I think we're all starting to see like little nuggets and sparks of things kind of throughout. And specifically this week I had one of my one of the producers that I interviewed reach out to me, and he had spoken about it a little bit when we were doing the interviews, and I won't go too much into it because it's still private, but they're creating this really, really awesome like platform and distribution model that they're doing case studies on now that are really, really successful. And, he reached out to me. He's like, I want to work with you creatively and get some of your connections in the festival world. And like, this is proving really well. And we're going to share it and it's going to be good. And there, you know, I think a lot of that was, you know, I've known this person for a long time, but that interview that we did together, we saw a different side of each other. Like, we're two people that have been working in the system, but we're also two people that are really underdogs that want to change the system and want creators to have and audiences to have the power. So it's like having the right conversations is a big part of what this reminded me to do.
I love that. So you segued perfectly into my next question, which is, what are the seeds that have carried forward? I mean, we're now like 5 months out from the end of the incubator. Are there any, other than what you just mentioned, are there any instances where something from the incubator has come up in a moment, or has changed the way you work, or has changed just your outlook?
I mean, another thing that was immediate, you know, our local film festival and art house cinema that they opened just shy of the pandemic sidewalk festival. The Birmingham just announced that an Alamo is moving like right around the corner from them. Which, you know, it's like gets people excited that don't have the full perspective. And then sidewalks, of course, is like that's like our audience and we're struggling. And so there's this, what is the seed of that? It's like, okay, your community, like bringing awareness to your community of how some of these things work, I think is part of it. Is part of what could help people consciously contribute to what they want to contribute to. And this is still just a small part of it. Like all theaters are struggling. It's not just sidewalk, like the AMCs, and I mean Alamo, just like, why are they coming to Birmingham for the last few months? Like they're bankrupt, you know? So it's like, not to get too narrow focused on what seems like a problem or seems like the problem, but to like let some things shift and to step outside it for a minute and think outside the box. It's just again a nice reminder to like take a creative approach to the business of what we're trying to do, because that's what we're good at, and that's usually what helps shift things.
Yeah, I had sort of the same takeaway. I mean, the Sidewalk Film Festival theater and the Alamo conflict, I guess, is how it's being framed, is a bit of a microcosm, right, of sort of the David versus Goliath kind of feeling that everyone has when they're trying to crack into this industry to some extent. I think what I took away, at least that I found heartening, I guess, or I think everyone is sort of experiencing some degree of the same thing, right? When they are in this sort of ambitious phase of sort of wanting to break through that first barrier, or maybe the second barrier, or whatever, when they're kind of up and coming. And right now is, I think, a unique kind of space for filmmaking. I'm having, weekly meetings with my manager about the stuff that we're writing. And, the first things that he's talking about, and the guy's got, 30, 40 years starting at CAA in this industry. He's put together some, films that everyone knows, and really smart guy when it comes to this business. But it's a strange time, right? I mean, the streaming industry has kind of reset all these different parameters on what qualifies as, or what's going to be sort of on the screen, on an actual screen in a theater, and what's not. And so that dynamic has sort of, I think, tilted everyone a little bit off balance, which sucks on one end, because, obviously everyone wants to I want to write for something that's going to be in a physical place and then I can go see it and it's going to be on a big screen. And that's what I want to do. The stuff that I'm writing probably will never get that chance. I'm not writing for Marvel or Disney or DC right now. And very quickly, that is becoming the exclusive place for those kind of movies is the theater. Places like Sidewalk don't show those kind of movies. They cater to stuff that I want to write. But that's not exactly sustainable either. So it's like, it's this weird space. And what the incubator, I think, kind of hit on over and over and over again is that now is a wonderful time, even though those things are terrible, for brand new ideas, right? It's a great time for thinking outside of those two boxes. And I think under the right circumstances, there could be some, revitalization or I don't know, renaissance or something for filmmaking that we haven't quite considered yet. But it's coming, and I don't think it's going to come from the top. I don't think it's going to come from the bottom. I think it's going to come from these people who are sort of in it a little bit and taking those first steps where they see something coming from a space that's a little bit, unique or outside of the community, or they bring in a new perspective and it changes things. I think that's going to happen in some capacity. I don't know. But hearing those things and hearing these people, it's going to come from these people. The type of people who are involved in Constellation Incubator are going to be the kinds of people who come up with these things. They're invested in the next thing, whether or not they know what it is yet or not. They want to see film. They're believers, right? It's a religious experience for them to create and tell stories on the screen. And, they're going to be the people to benefit from it too, because their stories will be ready. And, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but
No,
it came up for me. Oh, sorry, Nicole, Naomi, what were you saying?
no. I feel so like light after hearing you say that.
God, yay. I kind of was like, there was a phase starting about a year ago where I was gravitating more towards like this idea of Renaissance over apocalypse, like that was my attempt to steer myself in a good way. And this did come up in little pockets in the incubator. But I started going down a rabbit hole of researching the Renaissance, and like no one in the Renaissance knew they were in the Renaissance, like, and also different, socioeconomic levels were not experiencing a Renaissance. Like they weren't all like kicking back and eating grapes and getting their naked bodies painted. Like they were fucking in famine and struggling and like, and I don't know if this.
I kind of envision them walking around, just kind of greeting people on the street. So, how's your Renaissance going today?
Wait, are we in the Renaissance?
It's all new.
This is going to look so good in history books. Like it was this thing that was kind of made up in retrospect or as a reflection on, and it was very narrow. So I was like, well, bummer. But like also, like a lot of things are going to spark and fizzle and succeed and fail in this time. And I am trying to take pressure off of myself to like figure this all out. I am one person in a pretty wide network of people trying to figure this out. And we're all going to just, keep moving forward and taking care of ourselves and asking good questions. We're going to keep having little realizations, and we're going to try things. And that's where I have to be careful. Like, don't just stop because you're in despair, take a rest if you need it, but just get up and keep asking the questions. Like, it's not I mean, we could crack this thing tomorrow, or we could not ever feel like we've cracked it. And then in 20 years, we look back and we're like, well, that changed, didn't it? And so, and I remember this did specifically come up on one day, and Naomi, if you can help me remember like who was saying that, please do. But it did permeate my experience and how I feel about it now. It's like, just keep asking the right questions.
I love that perspective so much. Well, I've had a great time with this interview. Thank you so much for letting me spirits. So before I let you go, where can people find your work and how can we support you?
On the internet. Just do a deep Google search. I'm sure you'll find some interesting things. Really, that's the truth, Sydney.
Yeah. Twitter, I guess. Sydney v. Duncan.
Yeah.
Or at.
I like Instagram because I can make funny faces and noises. So if we're speaking on the socials.
This has been fun. Hey,
Sydney's
happy
smart,
Renaissance,
like
everyone.
words.
Happy Renaissance. Also, I do want to say that there were at least 3 guys who were like, we're doing the fucking Renaissance. You know, I agree with you. Most people didn't know, but there were like a couple guys.
Yeah. We are steeped in the fucking Renaissance.
We are nailing this Renaissance.
It's gonna be all new, all different.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you so much.
Fun.